I needed to get away. Work, city noise, people, I just needed silence. So when I found this listing for a remote cabin in the Ozark Mountains, I booked it without thinking twice. No reviews. No photos. Just a line, perfect for those seeking total disconnection. It was a 5-hour drive from St. Louis. The road narrowed the deeper I got into the woods, until it was barely a dirt path. My GPS froze somewhere along the way. Cell signal dropped. By the time I reached the cabin, the sun was gone. It looked fine. Old, wooden, one window boarded up. No lights, no electricity, but there was a fireplace, a bed, and a lantern. I didn't mind roughing it. The quiet felt good. Until it didn't. That first night, I heard something outside. Not animals' footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Circling the cabin. I peeked through the curtain. Nothing. Then came a knock. 3 soft taps on the front door. I held my breath. Didn't move. After a minute, the knocking stopped. I told myself it was wind, or a branch. But I barely slept. The next morning, I found footprints around the cabin. Bare feet. And one set, led to the back wall. But didn't lead away. There was no door back there. Just solid wood. I left right then, but the car wouldn't start. Dead battery. I hiked up the trail for hours, trying to get a signal. Nothing. When I came back down, the cabin looked different. Like the boards had moved. Inside, my lantern was gone. So was my backpack. And on the bed, where I left my coat, was a small wooden figurine, a carved man. With his hands covering his eyes. I didn't carve it. I didn't own it. I shouted. Yelled into the woods. Who's out there? No answer. I didn't sleep the second night. I sat against the wall, holding a fire poker. Every hour or so, I heard whispering. Always from outside. Except once. It came from the attic. There was no attic. On the third day, I gave up and hiked until dark. Still no signal. I swear the trail kept twisting back toward the cabin. Like the forest was leading me in circles. When I returned, I found another figurine. This time, hands over its mouth. The whispers got louder that night. At one point, I saw someone standing just beyond the tree line. They didn't move. Just watched. In the morning, the front door was wide open. I locked it. And on the floor a third figurine. Hands over its ears. See no evil. Speak no evil. Hear no evil. But the worst part, there were now 2 sets of plates on the table. 2 chairs pulled out. 2 mugs. I was alone. I tried setting the cabin on fire that night. But the matches were wet. The fireplace wouldn't catch. I think it wanted me to stay. That night, I dreamed of a face behind the walls. Smiling. Whispering. When I woke up, the cabin door was gone. There was just wall. No windows. No exit. Just me, and the fourth figurine. This one looked exactly like me. And its eyes were missing. I'm not the kind of person who goes looking for haunted places. But when my cousin Adam called and said he found a way into Riverside Asylum, I didn't say no. We'd heard the stories growing up. About how the hospital shut down after a fire in the psychiatric wing. About the doctor who went missing. About how the third floor had been completely sealed off. Just one night, Adam said, "We bring flashlights, a camera. Maybe record something freaky for fun." I should be said no. We got there just before sunset. The building stood like a corpse, gray, broken, forgotten. Windows shattered. Vines choking the walls. The front doors were chained shut, but Adam found a broken basement window near the back. The air inside smelled like mold and old metal. And something else. Like blood that dried a long time ago. We wandered through empty hallways, our footsteps echoing off the cracked tiles. Graffiti covered most of the walls, names, slurs, strange symbols. But some parts were untouched. As if time had skipped them. Like room 309. We found it at the end of the third floor. The door was shut tight, but not locked. I put my ear against it. I heard breathing. Adam laughed it off. "You're spooking yourself, man." He pushed the door open. The room was almost clean. A rusted bed bolted to the floor. An old leather chair. And in the corner a mirror. Still intact. But the reflection was wrong. I saw us standing there, but in the mirror, Adam was turned toward me, grinning. He wasn't smiling in real life. I blinked. The image flickered. Then the mirror cracked right across Adam's face. He stumbled back. "Let us get out of here." But the door had closed. We hadn't heard it. I pulled the handle. It wouldn't move. Adam tried kicking it. Nothing. Then the lights flickering and yellow turned on. We didn't turn them on. And the breathing, it got louder. Closer. I turned toward the mirror again. There was someone else in the reflection. A woman, standing behind Adam. Long black hair. Head tilted. Face pale and slack, like it had melted. Eyes, all black. Then she raised her hand slowly and touched his shoulder. But I saw nothing behind him in real life. Adam turned to me, confused. "Did you touch?" His voice cut off. The lights blinked. And when they came back on, he was gone. No sound. No scream. No movement. Just gone. I searched the room. Slammed on the door. Kicked the walls. Nothing. I looked back at the mirror. He was still in there. But he wasn't moving. The woman was, though. She turned. Slowly. Now facing me. I don't remember how I got out. I blacked out, I think. When I came to, I was in the stairwell, vomiting. The door to 309 was open behind me, the room empty. I never found Adam. The police searched for weeks. I told them he slipped and got lost. I couldn't explain the mirror. Or the woman. or why I still see him, in reflections. Every time I pass a mirror, he is there, standing just behind me. And sometimes he smiles. I used to work the night shift at a data processing company. Nothing glamorous, just scanning old paper documents into a system. But at that time in my life, fresh to the edge of the city and still trying to find my footing, a stable paycheck was all I needed. The company was located on the 7th floor of a rundown office building. The elevator screeched like it was held together by hope and rust, and the hallway lights flickered constantly like no one had bothered to maintain anything in years. During the day, a few quiet employees would come and go. They never said much. Actually, they hardly acknowledged me at all. But I was on the night shift. I was the only one there. They told me all I had to do was sit in the scan room and feed documents into the machine. No taking files out. No photos. No questions about where the papers came from. I asked just once, what are these documents about? The supervisor looked at me flatly and said, "You don't need to know." So that's how it started. Every night at 9, I'd clock in, ride that miserable elevator up, and sit under cold fluorescent lights feeding paper into a scanner. Sometimes I'd put on music, sometimes I just sat there with the hum of the machine as background noise. Then, little things started happening. At first, it was the lights. The motion sensors in the hallway would trigger before I even got close. I thought maybe they were just overly sensitive. But then one night, I clearly saw the lights turning on one by one down the hallway, ahead of me. Like someone was walking just a few steps in front of me. That's when I started getting nervous. Every time I walked through that hallway, I'd glance at the floor, looking for shadows. But there was never anything there. One night, I came back from a water break, and I heard a soft sound behind me. Just a single step. Like someone's heel pressing into the carpet. Tap. I spun around. Nothing. I stood frozen for what felt like minutes, heart pounding, palms sweating. Eventually, I started checking the security feed. They gave me a tablet that showed footage from a few cameras, mainly the hallway and the front door. The footage was grainy, like it was recorded on a phone from 2006. But at 2:17 a.m. one night, I swear I saw a shadow flicker at the edge of the hallway cam. I played it back again and again. It didn't walk across. It floated. From then on, I started keeping track. Every night, like clockwork 2:17 a.m. something would flash across that hallway camera. Always fast. Always at the edge of the frame. Then came the Friday night. I had just finished a stack of files and was stretching when I heard a low sound, almost like a faint buzzing coming from the end of the hallway. Like a machine straining, or someone quietly weeping. I turned off the scanner to listen better. The sound became clearer. It was coming from the storage room at the very end of the hall, the one that was always locked. But tonight, the door was open. I should be called someone. Or left. Or, anything but what I did. But I don't know why I was drawn to it. I stepped closer. The lights flicked on one by one, as they always did. The noise stopped the moment I reached the door. I slowly pushed it open. It creaked like in every horror movie ever. Inside, it was pitch black. I turned on my phone flashlight, scanned the room. And that's when I saw it. A tall, dark figure standing silently in the back corner of the room. I froze. The flashlight trembled in my hand. It didn't move. I slowly started backing away, heart hammering. But just before I turned to run, it spoke. "You finally came." The voice was warped like a broken tape, distorted and raw. Not human. I ran. I didn't even think. I sprinted down the hallway, slammed through the elevator doors, and bolted out of the building like something was chasing me. I collapsed in the security booth downstairs, trembling, barely able to speak. The guard asked if I'd been drinking. I said, "There's someone upstairs." He went up with me to check. Nothing. No sign of anyone. The cameras showed nothing either. But I know what I saw. That shadow, it never left. I called in sick the next week. Then I quit. The company didn't ask much, just sent a message that said I'd been removed from the system. Weeks later, I heard a rumor. A guy working the same night shift had gone missing about a year ago. Just vanished. Last footage showed him standing in front of that same storage room door. As it slowly creaked open by itself. He was never found. Sometimes, late at night, I still dream of that hallway. The lights clicking on one by one. And that figure always standing in the corner, just barely visible in the shadows. He never really left. I wasn't supposed to be there. That's what I kept telling myself as I stood at the edge of the gravel trail, staring at the wooden sign covered in moss and dust. Trailhead closed, no entry. The paint was faded, but the message was clear. The problem was, I wasn't the one who had planned this trip. Kyle had insisted this place was perfect. "It's off the grid," he said. "No crowds. No cell service. Just us and the woods. Like the good old days." The good old days meant college cheap tents, too much beer, and getting lost in the Appalachian woods until someone figured out how to read a map. Now, 5 years later, we were grown ups. Sort of. At least we had better gear, and a decent car. There were 6 of us, me, Kyle, his girlfriend Leah, my younger brother Ben, and their 2 friends, Mike and Trish. We'd all driven up together, parked at a rundown rest area off Route 68, and started hiking 2 hours ago. Now, the trees loomed higher, thicker, and the trail had all but disappeared beneath our boots. And this sign, the warning, the faded threat, was the first thing that had made me feel something might be truly wrong. Kyle scoffed at the sign. "It's old. Probably from when they had fires out here or something." Leah hesitated. "Shouldn't we maybe check online?" Ben raised his phone. "No bars." Mike grinned and grabbed a stick. "Well, we're already out here. Might as well keep going. There's supposed to be a clearing by a stream about half a mile in. That's the spot." No one really argued after that. The forest seemed to lean in closer the deeper we walked. The trees grew taller, bark darker, and underbrush thicker. Every now and then, I thought I heard something in the distance like a snapping twig or a rustle just out of sight. But every time I looked, there was nothing. Just shadows. We reached the clearing just before dusk. It was oddly symmetrical, an almost perfect circle of flat ground, ringed by thick pine trees. A trickling stream ran nearby, its sound constant and gentle. It should be even peaceful. But something felt off. Like we were being watched. That night, we set up the tents, built a fire, and tried to laugh off the weird vibes. Mike broke out his flask. Kyle told ghost stories. Leah leaned against him, quiet but smiling. Trish barely touched her food, staring into the woods more than the fire. Ben kept fiddling with his phone, holding it up to the sky now and then. I swear I had a signal for like a second, he said. Trish finally spoke. We should leave tomorrow. Kyle frowned. Why? I don't know, she said. I don't like it here. Doesn't it feel right? We all felt it. But no one wanted to be the one to ruin the weekend. At some point past midnight, I woke up to the sound of something scraping. Not an animal, not the usual rustle of leaves or snap of a branch. This was deliberate. Metal on wood. I sat up in the tent. Ben was snoring softly beside me. I unzipped the flap just a bit and peered out. At first, I didn't see anything. Then, just at the edge of the firelight, something moved. A figure, tall, pale, almost blending into the trees. They stood perfectly still, head tilted slightly, watching. I froze. The fire crackled. Ben stirred. When I looked again, the figure was gone. The next morning, I didn't say anything. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe I imagined it. But Trish looked pale, like she hadn't slept. Did anyone else hear something last night, she asked. Mike laughed. I heard Kyle snore like a chainsaw. Trish shook her head. No. Like someone walking around the tents. Leah looked at me. You okay? I nodded, but my stomach twisted. We packed up and decided to hike back early. But the trail was gone. I swear it had been there the night before. But now, it was as if the forest had swallowed it up. The trees looked different. Closer. Wrong. Kyle led the way, but within 20 minutes, we were walking in circles. Ben swore he saw the same mossy stump 3 times. The stream we followed in was nowhere to be found. And then Mike screamed. He was at the back of the group, walking near Trish, when he vanished. One moment he was there, the next, gone. A loud rustle, a crash, and then silence. We ran back. There was no sign of him. Just broken branches and drag marks. Like something had pulled him into the woods. Ben wanted to go after him. Kyle held him back. We don't split up. But he's our friend. We go together. Now. We moved as a group, calling Mike's name. But the deeper we went, the less sound carried. Our voices felt muffled. Even the birds were gone. And then we found something. A cabin. Old, rotting, half collapsed. None of us had seen it before. It wasn't on any map. It shouldn't have been here. Maybe Mike went in there, Leah whispered. No way, I said. Look at it. It's falling apart. But we were desperate. We approached, slowly. The door hung crooked on one hinge. Inside, it smelled like mold and something else, something metallic. Blood. The walls were covered in carvings. Symbols, strange runes, some faded, others fresh. A chair sat in the middle of the room, its seat dark with old stains. Chains lay on the floor. Trish turned and vomited outside. We didn't find Mike. But we heard him. That night, back at the clearing, as we huddled around the fire, we heard him call out. It was his voice. But it wasn't right. It came from the trees, echoing in a way no human voice should. Guys, help me. Ben jumped up. That's him. I grabbed his arm. No, it's not. And then we saw them. Eyes. Hundreds of them, just beyond the tree line. Watching. Blinking. Unmoving. We ran. I don't remember how long or how far. Hours all night. At some point, the forest opened up. The road appeared. We flagged down a car. Got to a ranger station. Told them everything. They sent a team out. They never found the clearing. Or the cabin. Or Mike. That place doesn't exist, they told us. That trail has been closed for decades. Landslides, unsafe terrain. But I know what we saw. And sometimes, late at night, I still hear Mike's voice. Calling from the woods. Asking for help. And I know better than to answer. I never thought a simple weekend camping trip would end with me running for my life, lungs burning, chased by something I still can't explain. My name is Jordan. I'm 27, a software engineer by day, and until that weekend a city guy through and through. I had never gone proper camping before. But when my best friend Ryan suggested we do a guy's weekend in the wilderness to disconnect, I agreed. There were 5 of us, me, Ryan, his cousin Marcus, our college buddy Dave, and Eli, Ryan's co-worker. We loaded our gear into Eli's beat-up Jeep and headed to Iron Cliff National Forest, a dense, remote place with limited cell signal and even fewer people. Our plan was to hike about 7 miles in, set up camp, fish, drink, tell stories, and sleep under the stars. No itinerary. Just freedom. We arrived on a late Friday afternoon. The sun filtered through towering pine trees as we hiked in, boots crunching on fallen needles and the occasional patch of dry leaves. Birds chirped overhead. The scent of resin and earth was almost intoxicating. We passed the occasional marker and trail blaze, but otherwise, the deeper we went, the less civilization we saw. By 6 p.m. we found a flat spot near a shallow stream and set up camp. We built a fire pit, pitched our tents, and relaxed with beers as the night fell. Laughter echoed in the trees. It was perfect. Until Ryan noticed the tower. "Is that a ranger station?" he asked, pointing through the tree line. We squinted through the darkening forest and spotted a silhouette, a tall wooden fire watchtower rising above the treetops, maybe a quarter-mile from us. Oddly, it wasn't marked on any of our maps. Marcus checked the GPS on his watch. Nothing. No structures nearby. We figured it was abandoned or decommissioned. Just an old relic of a bygone time. But at around midnight, while the others were asleep, I saw a light. I stepped out of my tent to take a leak. That's when I noticed it. A faint, steady glow coming from the top of the tower. Like a lantern. But it wasn't flickering. It was static. Almost like an electric bulb. Curiosity gnawed at me. I stood there for a while, squinting. Then I saw movement, just a flicker of a shadow passing in front of the light. I woke the others. Ryan was annoyed. Dave was hungover and barely awake. Eli didn't care. But Marcus, he was as curious as I was. It shouldn't be on, he muttered. If it's abandoned, why is there power? So we decided to check it out. Just me and Marcus. The others stayed. We grabbed flashlights and followed a faint path toward the tower. The forest seemed to hold its breath around us. The closer we got, the quieter everything became. No crickets, no rustling leaves, just our footsteps. The tower itself was weathered but intact. Wooden beams creaked. A staircase spiraled up to a square cabin perched at the top. The light was still on, glowing softly through the dust-smeared windows. We climbed. Each step groaned under our weight. The air got colder. My breath came out in small clouds. Marcus reached the top first. He tried the door. Unlocked. The inside was empty. Dust everywhere. A desk. An old cot. Shelves with rusted supplies. And a battery-powered lantern sitting on the floor, casting that same unwavering light. No one was there. We exchanged nervous glances. Marcus picked up the lantern. Then the radio on the desk crackled. A burst of static, followed by a voice. Faint. Garbled. Don't leave the light. They see you in the dark. We froze. Hello, Marcus said. Who is this? No response. Just static. Then louder. They're coming. The light on the lantern flickered. And then we heard it. Footsteps below. Dozens. Moving fast. Branches cracking. Breathing not human. Guttural. We didn't wait. Marcus dropped the lantern. We bolted down the stairs 2 at a time. The forest below had changed. It wasn't just dark, it was wrong. The trees leaned in, the air thick like syrup. And the footsteps, they were surrounding the tower now. We ran. No trail. Just instinct. Just fear. I lost Marcus at some point. I didn't dare yell. I kept running, lungs on fire, heart pounding. I burst into camp, screaming for the others. They scrambled out, bleary-eyed and terrified. I couldn't explain. Just grabbed gear, told them to move. We didn't stop to pack. We hiked all night until we saw the first signs of sunlight. No one talked. Marcus never came back. We reported it to rangers. They searched. Found a tower. Found a lantern. But they told us something chilling. That tower had burned down 20 years ago in a lightning strike. No one had rebuilt it. It doesn't exist on any maps. Not anymore. No one could explain the footprints they found. Or the blood. Sometimes, when I can't sleep, I hear that radio voice in my head. Don't leave the light. They see you in the dark. And I wonder what would be happened if we stayed just 1 minute longer. I had never been the type to enjoy camping, but when my friend Mark insisted on a weekend trip to the Pine Hollow National Forest, I relented. It'll be good for you, he said, his smile convincing enough to push away my reluctance. There were 4 of us, Mark, his girlfriend Alyssa, their mutual friend Theo, and me. We were all in our late 20s, city dwellers needing a digital detox. Pine Hollow had recently reopened after a long closure due to wildfires, and Mark, the eternal thrill seeker, found that appealing. The drive took nearly 5 hours. As we approached the forest, the sun was already dipping below the tree line, casting elongated shadows across the winding road. The air smelled faintly of burnt wood, a lingering echo of the fires from months ago. We parked at a small clearing that barely qualified as a designated campsite. There was no cell reception, no ranger station nearby. Just tall pines swaying like silent sentinels above us and a fire pit surrounded by ancient, moss-covered rocks. We set up 2 tents and built a modest fire. As the sky turned indigo and the first stars blinked awake, Theo began telling ghost stories. He was good at it, too good. He told a story about a man who used to live in these woods, a forest hermit rumored to have gone mad during the fires. They say he still wanders, looking for something he lost. I laughed nervously, brushing it off. You guys always try too hard to make camping creepy. It's part of the experience, Mark replied with a grin. By midnight, we had all retreated to our tents. I shared one with Theo. The forest was strangely quiet, too quiet. No crickets. No distant rustle of animals. Just the occasional groan of the trees in the wind. Sometime in the early hours, I woke up to a faint, metallic clanging sound. It was distant but rhythmic, like someone striking a pipe against a tree. I nudged Theo. Do you hear that? He stirred, then sat up. Yeah. That's weird. We unzipped the tent and peeked outside. The fire had long since died, and everything was shrouded in darkness. The sound grew louder: clang, clang, clang. Mark emerged from his tent, flashlight in hand, Alyssa right behind him. What the hell is that? We decided to investigate, stupidly emboldened by our numbers. With flashlights slicing through the night, we followed the sound deeper into the woods. The noise echoed, making it hard to tell where it was coming from. Then it stopped. Abruptly. Maybe it was an animal, Alyssa suggested, though she didn't sound convinced. Just as we were about to head back, Theo spotted something. A narrow path veering off the main trail, partially hidden under fallen branches. At the start of it, an old rusted bell hung from a crooked metal post. It swayed slightly, though there was no breeze. Nope. Nubi, I muttered, turning around. The others hesitated, but eventually followed. Back at the campsite, we tried to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. I kept seeing that bell in my mind, hearing its phantom clang. The next day, things felt off. Our gear had been subtly moved, nothing stolen, just disturbed. A sleeping bag was unzipped. A pen left upside down. Alyssa's boots were missing, only to be found an hour later hanging from a low tree branch 50 feet away. We blamed raccoons. We had to blame something. That evening, as the fire crackled, Mark pulled out a hip flask and tried to lighten the mood. Theo wasn't having it. "We should leave tomorrow," he said. "This place feels wrong." I agreed. Alyssa, too. Mark rolled his eyes. "Guys, don't let a little spooky noise scare you." But he was the first to wake us in the middle of the night. He burst into our tent, eyes wide with panic. "There's someone out there," he whispered. I saw them. Tall, wearing something like a gas mask. Just standing at the edge of the trees. We sprang into action, flashlights at the ready, but we saw nothing. No footprints. No signs of anyone. Just darkness pressing in from all sides. The final straw came when we heard it again. The bell. Loud and close this time. We didn't even discuss it. We packed in silence and hiked back to the car in the pre-dawn light. But the car wouldn't start. Theo popped the hood. The battery was gone. "That's impossible," he said. "We checked it yesterday." That's when Alyssa pointed to the forest line. Hanging from a branch was our battery, tied up with what looked like vines. We ran. There's no shame in it. We ran until we found a ranger's outpost, still miles from any road. They didn't believe our story, but they sent someone to tow the car and check the site. They found no bell. No vines. Nothing was out of place. We never spoke about it again. But sometimes, late at night, I hear that slow, steady clang, clang, clang. And I remember the way the pines seemed to whisper our names as we fled.